To ask the city attorney if there's anything to report out.
Yes, there is, Mayor. Under items listed under item A, which is existing litigation in the case of the city of San Bernardino versus Gailey, council gave settlement directive by a vote of 5-0 with Barrios and Nickel absent. Under item B, anticipated litigation in the matter of City of San Bernardino versus as successor agency versus Los Angeles Engineering, council gave settlement directive by consensus with Barrios and Nickel absent. In the matter of City of San Bernardino versus Route 66 truck terminal, council gave settlement directive 5-0 with Barrios and Nickel absent. In the matter of City of San Bernardino versus Salgado, council gave settlement directive 6-0 with Councilman Nickel absent. In the matter of City of San Bernardino versus Jennifer Dardashti, council gave settlement directive by a vote of 6-0 with Nickel absent. In the matter of City of San Bernardino versus Park and Park, council gave settlement directive 6-0 with Nickel absent. In the matter of City of San Bernardino versus Anza Butterfield Road 34, council gave settlement directive 6-0 with Councilman Nickel absent. And in the matter listed under real property negotiators, conference with real property negotiators regarding property described as 27 parcels of vacant real property equaling approximately 6.56 acres, generally located along 5th Street between H and F Streets. Council gave negotiation directive by consensus with Nickel absent. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Next, we have one appointment this evening, the appointment to the Arts and Historical Preservation Commission.
Second.
I have a motion. This is to appoint Dr. Dorothy Garcia. All in favor, please cast your votes.
On item 1, the appointment of Ms. Garcia to the Arts and Historical Preservation Commission, the motion was made by Mr. Charette, the second by Mr. Mulvihill, and the item passes 6-0. Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah. Either way. I said it pretty loudly, but I seconded it.
You seconded it? Okay, I'm sorry. The move by Mr. Charette, the second by Mr. Valdivia.
Thank you. And Dr. Garcia, if you come forward and be sworn in. And do you want to?
Oh, yeah, thank you. I thought she had to be sworn in, and I'm not authorized.
But
I swear you in, I can't. I'm not, I don't have that much. No, you can stand right here. I don't know what we're doing. While we're waiting, no, we're not waiting anymore.
Do solemnly swear. To support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
To support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
To bear true faith and allegiance.
To bear true faith and allegiance.
To the Constitution of the United States.
To the Constitution of the United States.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
That I take this obligation freely.
I take this obligation freely.
Without any mental reservation.
Without any mental reservation.
Or purpose of evasion.
Or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully.
And that I will well and faithfully.
Discharge the duties.
Discharge the duties.
Upon which I am about to enter.
Upon which I am about to enter.
Thank you. I just need your signature. Taking it off and enough.
I think so, too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gigi. And Dr. Garcia.
Yes.
Everyone knows Dr. Garcia as Dottie Garcia. I thank you for taking this position again on this new committee. The mayor asked me if it was my appointment. I said, yeah, it sure is. It's kind of a reappointment, and yet it really isn't a reappointment because it's a whole new committee. And so we're kind of starting anew, but you have given a lot of time and effort to the arts in this community, and we appreciate that. And we know that as in the past, as you've been chairman of that committee, probably a number of times, and I don't know how long you've served, but a long time.
Well, on that commission?
Well, you've served the community for
Oh, a long time.
a long time, but on that commit, on the arts, quite a long time as well.
As long as it was 3 years.
Right.
4 years. 4 years.
And so I'm pleased to give you a pen, which you
Thank
probably
you.
can add to your collection because of city service, and this certificate indicating that you are on that committee. And we thank you very much
Thank
for
you
your
very
service, and stay around for a while, and I might find another committee for you to serve on, if
Well-
you're willing.
I think this will be it.
All right, thank you. If you want to say a word, you may.
Thank you, Councilman Charette, for appointing me to this commission, to this brand-new commission. And I, at this point, am the sole member of this new commission. I'm hoping that there will be others on the commission soon, and that uniting the two former commissions will prove to be fruitful for the city. And I will work toward that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dottie. Thank you. Oh, Dottie? Dorothy, doctor? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Charette. Next item of business are presentations. The first item is a proclamation issued by the mayor and the city council proclaiming May 28th through June the 1st as Law Enforcement Week. We urge our citizens to support the San Bernardino Area Chamber of Commerce's efforts to recognize our law enforcement officers who are serving in our community. This proclamation will be presented at the May 31st recognition dinner. Next, we'd like to make a slight change and move our Citizen of the Month forward. And Councilmember Benito Barrios, if you'll step to the podium. Student of the Month.
Good evening, everybody, and it's my complete pleasure to be able to announce this month's Student of the Month. He comes from San Bernardino High School. This young man came to San Bernardino from Mexico when he was 7 years old. His parents, Arturo Perez and Veronica Calleros. His dad worked at Ashley's Furniture until he was laid off, but his mom continues to work there. He has one sister, Karen, who's a student at San Bernardino Valley College, and he's very proud and in love with his niece, Cresea, who is almost 2. Asael attended Anton Elementary, Shandon Hills Middle School, and will graduate from San Bernardino High School with a 3.5 GPA, and he will attend San Bernardino Valley College and has already been selected to be an intern at San Bernardino High School in August of 2018. His favorite class is history, and he'll major in political science. He's very active at school. He's the president of the yearbook staff, editor-in-chief of the Tyrol Weekly newspaper, art club, travel club, Spanish Honor Society, historian for ASB, student advisor for the school site council, and volunteers with the Mr. and Miss Cardinal City pageants. He's also a student representative for San Bernardino County Schools, San Bernardino City Schools, and the principal student advisory committees. His message to students is this: have hope and know that anything is possible. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a round of applause for Mr. Asael Perez Calleros. Congratulations. Here's a pin. You could wear that proudly. Wherever you go. Here's your certificate, and I think this one is from the senator, and the representatives are not here. This from the senator. You have a few words, please.
Hello. I do have something prepared. Thank you, Mr. Barrios. Hello, good evening. I would first like to thank my family for always supporting me in everything I do, my crazy ideas and everything. I would also like to thank Mrs. Schmidt, my amazing principal, Dr. Gutierrez, Mrs. Olson, Mrs. Bunn, for always being encouraging, kind, and being there when I need them the most. Without them, those incredible people, I wouldn't be here. I'm sorry. Thank you to Dr. Hill for that amazing article. It was amazing. Thank you very, very much. Last but not least, thank you to City Council. Thank you to Mayor Davis. And I would like to dedicate my award to my family and my great school, Cardinal City.
Thank you, Councilmember Barrios. We now would like to invite the San Bernardino County Transportation Authority representative to come forward for a presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Yes, with us today is Paula Bocamp from SBCTA to do the presentation. Paula?
Good evening. Thank you for inviting me to give you updates on our projects that you've allowed us to run for you. So the first one I want to talk about was the I-215 landscape project, one that's in construction now, at least the first phase. The second one would be the Mount Vernon Viaduct project, to give you an update on that, as well as our I-215 University project. So the landscaping project, you've probably noticed if you've driven on I-215 between Orange Street and 5th Street that construction has begun. And so the contractor, Griffith Company's out there clearing. They've been placing some of the larger boulders in place. And as they continue forward, they will perform other duties such as putting in mulch and drought-tolerant plantings, as well as some gravel. The next segment that will start in construction will be actually in fall, and that will go from 5th Street to Massachusetts. And that, then the third phase, which goes from Massachusetts up to the interchange at I-215-210, will begin once we get our funding identified and secured. One of the nice things about these type projects is that our board has allowed us to not only perform the installations, but also to have 1 year of plant establishment, followed by 4 years of maintenance. So once we turn this back over to Caltrans for their maintenance, it'll be well established. As you've noticed, there are the boulders, and we'll continue on this path through all of the phases of the project. Not only are we providing drought-tolerant design, but we're also using water-wise irrigation. Oh, sorry about that. The next project is the Mount Vernon Viaduct project. We've been very busy taking over the environmental segments, so we've completed all of the environmental studies and all of the engineering studies necessary for our supplemental environmental document. One of the great things about this project is that it has been a team project. Together, the city, SBCTA, BNSF, and Caltrans have worked on this. In fact, yesterday, FHWA came down and met with us for about 4 hours, which included a walk along the bridge, the full length. So they're very impressed with all of the activity in San Bernardino, and they are a huge proponent of the project. So that's quite favorable for us. Back in 2014, and actually prior to that, engineers had noticed that the steel girders under the bridge had developed cracks, and as a result, the repair was to provide some temporary shoring. Also, at different points in time, the bridge has been closed to through traffic, as well as now it's permanently closed to commercial traffic. So it's been an impact not having that bridge fully available for our community. This is another area with a temporary shoring. So fast forward to last year, the 4th of July weekend, I think the city forces were notified that Friday, but that Saturday I got called from my camping trip to come look because I understood the bridge was falling, and so I brought a piece to show you. And so upon inspection, we found these cracks under the bridge. They're actually under the sidewalk. And I don't know if you can see see these pieces of bar reinforcement. Those are supposed to be fully encased by concrete. And so as water has filtered through the cracks above, the reinforcing bar or the metal has expanded, and it causes this to pop off. In fact, there's a piece of the metal that was touching it. So as a result, the city has worked closely, and they've actually netted underneath the bridge so that no one will be hit as they work under the bridge in the facility below. Here's the concept that we plan to take forward. We're going to replace the bridge, the full length of the bridge. We'll lengthen it and widen it. It'll have 2 lanes in each direction and a median. The project area basically goes down to 2nd Street and then up to 5th Street. And so we'll be widening and realigning as we head from north to south. In addition, let me see if I can see. I think you can see a little bit of 2nd Street is widened. The reason that is because the bridge is also going to be elevated. So when we tie back down to connect to the existing streets, we're going to have to basically tie into the streets to make sure we have a smooth transition. This is the cross section showing it's basically an 80-foot span across. Right now, I think it's about 48. And then in terms of status, the biggest thing is that we have accomplished our draft environmental document. And so with that comes a public meeting, which will be held next month. Right now, we're working with staff and our own project team to finalize a date to meet. And once we do that, we'll have someone from SBCTA come back to the City Council to announce that. In addition, we'll send out flyers and newsletters to the community, the residents and the business members, and we'll provide you some flyers for your city as well to distribute. In addition to that, although that's our greatest feat, we have other elements, and that is we've been finalizing the funding obligations. This is a rather complicated funding scenario, so it's taken some while, but we're there. So in the near future, you will be coming together with a new agreement laying out all of the funding scenario between our agencies. Let's see, keep this short. So today in your agenda, you have an agreement with BNSF. Another feat that we've accomplished is that we've been able to have BNSF contribute $29.5 million to the project. So we believe that that might supplant much of your local contribution. As I mentioned, we finished our environmental draft document. We plan to finalize it in fall, which will allow us to go through our procurement process for our design builder, resulting in the fact that we'll be able to actually take the bridge down in fall of 2019. And after about 2.5 years, we'll have it back up for you and open. Our costs, similar to other costs, our costs are rising. So the project started out with $92 million back in 2011. We've conducted engineers' estimates because we've learned more about the project. We've done more studies, and those elements need to be costed and included in our funding plan. And so right now we're at $152 million. As we move forward into construction, we do expect to have some impacts to the community. Specifically, since the bridge will be down, there will be a need for us to circulate traffic around that area. So basically using Fifth Street to H Street back to 2nd Street for vehicles. For pedestrians, we've talked to the rail side of SBCTA, and we look at maybe having a bus. That's rather expensive, so I'm looking at other options, and I'd like to have some options that would be more direct for the travelers that walk that distance. So, and in terms of noise, we will be handling that not only through specifications, but also through enforcement of that, and discussing it with the community. We will have relocation acquisitions that will be required, and along with that, we'll have some utilities that will have to be moved. So I highly encourage you, if you have any interest in how we acquire property or when we're going to do that, please, attend our public meeting. We can answer those questions directly. In addition, we'll have an open circulation of the document, so you can actually review the document and make comments to it, and we will address those comments in our final environmental document. The commercial impacts likely are similar to the residential, and that will be impacting the right-of-way in front of them. In terms of outreach, this is really the beginning. So I'm telling you, we're beginning our process now, and so you'll have our chief of outreach come and discuss with you our next steps in terms of our public meeting, when it will be. We'll work together with the city, and we plan to include BNSF since they're now a funding partner. And then, of course, everything is approved through Caltrans since it's federal funds that are participating on the project. Looking ahead, we will have another agreement with BNSF, finalizing the details of how we receive and track the $29.5 million from BNSF. We'll also look at that next funding agreement with the city about how we propose to lay out the funding plan with the city. And then finally, one of the elements about that funding source, it's called HBP, the Highway Bridge Program funding that the city was able to secure. They have a requirement that they only will reimburse you $20 million a year. And with this project costing $152 million, there is going to need to be some basically cash flow payment. And so we will be signing that agreement with Caltrans ourselves, and that's why that funding scenario agreement's a little complicated. Again, we're moving forward to hire a design builder, have them under contract early next year, and breaking ground next fall. And then, as I mentioned, we will be coming back here. Again, we're open. If you have any groups who would like us to come and present information about the project, please let us know. We'd be happy, to join their group and give them an update. And so that concludes Mount Vernon Viaduct. So the final project is the I-215 University Parkway project. So this project this project area is highly congested because of the university. Not only students, but visitors, faculty, and different crews that go in to maintain the facility. And so we looked at this. We've actually been looking at it for several years with the city because of the funding constraints. We try to come up with some sort of creative way to solve the congestion problem without having to go into debt or try to just wait for a future funding source. And so the solution that we've developed is called a divergent diamond interchange. So presently, the interchange is a typical diamond configuration interchange where the ramps connect directly to the roadbed, in this case University Street, and the driver from that point can decide to go left or right. And then it's all controlled by two sets of signals, one at each off-ramp and on-ramp. So the divergent diamond interchange was of interest to us and city staff for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's very cost effective. Number two, it actually is safer through the studies that have been shown. So while this is a new configuration for California, it's not new to the United States and it's not new to Europe. So this is one of 3 projects in California that'll be moving forward. The other 2 are slightly ahead of us because we're in the environmental project process and they're already in design. But what makes this cost effective is that the bridge will remain intact. We won't need to remove that or replace it. And so let me show you how this works. So if you were at the university, which is here, whoops, let's go backwards, on the right side, and you wanted to head northbound towards Devore, you would travel here and then simply turn right. You note that there's no stopping. It's just a free flow right. If you wanted to go southbound, you'd come across, and there is a signal here, so once that comes, come straight down, and you'd go free flow. Notice again, this is free flow. There's no stopping. So the net result of this activity is that it basically flushes traffic in each individual direction. And so it moves traffic more quickly, and there's less of a backup. And so here is the picture of the opposite direction of travel. So as I mentioned, we're finishing our environmental document, so similar to Mount Vernon, part of our process is to have a public meeting, and we'll do that in fall, later this year, and then complete our environmental process early fall, and then move into construction summer of 2020. And it'll be complete in the summer of 2021, so it's about a one-year project. The total cost on this project is $6.2 million. So it's a very low price for great improvement. And this concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much. We appreciate the partnership that we have with SBCTA and these projects and the hard work that you've put into helping to bring about the Mount Vernon Bridge and the partnership also with BNSF that's been a major impetus in helping to defray some of those costs. So we certainly appreciate. Any comments from council members? Councilmember Marquez?
Thank you, Mayor. Paula, thank you for this presentation. Very interesting projects, very good projects for the city, and thank you for the partnership. I do have a specific question regarding the Mount Vernon Viaduct because that impacts our city, specifically the first and third wards. And I'm interested in this community meeting because I'm hoping that residents watching this council meeting will be aware that this will impact them if they live specifically on 2nd, 4th, and Kingman. Am I right?
Yes.
Any other streets that are going to be
vicinity.
in that vicinity? And so I really encourage residents to attend. Is there a number they can reach you if they have any questions?
Yes, it's above 909-884-8276.
Very good. And you're willing to attend neighborhood association meetings to discuss an update and how this will impact the community in a positive way because we will have a brand new bridge.
Yes, I would.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Valdivia?
Thank you, sir. Ms. City Manager, I'm requesting that I certainly appreciate Paula and our partner at SBCTA, but I'd like to make a request that we have a presentation also and an update on the southwesterly portion of the city. I don't know if it's SBCTA or who, but getting some concerned residents calling about the MetroLink expansion. And my council office has attempted to schedule something, and we've had no response. So I'd like to have an update. Well, I don't know if it's in coordination or might be.
You're interested in the expansion efforts that MetroLink
Yeah,
has,
and an
that's out there?
update on that
Okay.
for the council, please.
Good.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions? None. Thank you very much, Paula. We appreciate all the hard work that you put into making this come about.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, while we're moving to the next item, Paula has been a tremendous partner, and we'll do the same thing with MetroLink because you're right, we need to start bringing those partners so you understand the things that are changing in the community, and they have a chance to hear from us about impacts like the ones that Councilmember Valdivia raised.
Thank you. Next, we'll turn the time over to the Chamber of Commerce.
Good evening, everyone, Mayor and Council. My name is Colin Strange. I'm the Director of Business Resources at the San Bernardino Area Chamber of Commerce. And I'm here today with the up-and-coming announcements of what's going to be happening in our community in the next 2 weeks. So for those of you watching at home, maybe you want to grab a pencil or a pen in case you need to jot down some of the information that might interest you. For anybody in law enforcement, the Mothers Against Drunk Driving Hero Gala takes place tomorrow. I know it's short notice, May 17th at 11 o'clock at 94 Dufford Avenue in Riverside. They're still taking applications for places, so if you're interested, you can call 714-888-8255. 838-6199 for information. Again tomorrow, the Woman of Dignity Health Spring Luncheon takes place at 11:30 at the St. Bernardine's Resec Center. They have spaces too, so if you're interested in attending, call 881-4516 for information or a last-minute reservation. A little bit about the Inland Empire 66's home games at San Manuel Stadium on E Street, scheduled for May 18th at 7:05, May 19th at 6:05 p.m., May 20th at 2:05 p.m., May 25th at 7:05 again, May 26th at 6:05, and finally May 27th at 2:05 in the afternoon. You can call the Sixers at 888-9922. At the California Theater of the Performing Arts, they are presenting Jump in Line, a musical featuring the music of Harry Belafonte. Friday, May the 18th at 8 o'clock, Saturday, May 19 at 2, and then 8 o'clock the same evening, and then Sunday, May the 20th at 2 o'clock. You can reach the California Theater box office at 885-5152. Going on to the Chamber of Commerce, the featured speaker at the Chamber of Commerce Coffee Clatch on Wednesday, May the 23rd, will be Tracy Lynn Sharrett, who will be sharing all the good work that Santa Claus Inc. does for the community. And on May the 30th, Catherine Pritchett, who's here this evening, will be bringing us up to date on developments at the San Bernardino International Airport. The meetings take place at the Chamber offices at 546 West 6th Street, starting at 7:30 a.m. 885-7515. Then finally, as Mayor Davis mentioned, it's the Chamber of Commerce 42nd Annual Law Enforcement Appreciation Dinner, which will be taking place at the Scottish Rite Hall on May the 31st, starting 5:30 p.m. This is the public's chance to honor the sterling work that our local law enforcement provides to our community. So come and give tribute to the San Bernardino Police Department, the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, California Highway Patrol, the police from Cal State University, Valley College, and the school district, and finally, the San Manuel Band of Mission Indians and their special surveillance dog named Lena. So call the Chamber at 885-7515 for information and reservations, and I wish you all a very pleasant week. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Strange.
Good evening, Mayor Davis, City Manager Miller, family, council. As a representative of Assemblymember Reyes, I just want to share a couple events in our city, two of which is this weekend, this Saturday. The first one is the Stand Up to Stigma. As we know, this month is Mental Health Awareness Month, so we're doing a large conference this Saturday at the SAC Health System, all around workshops dealing with mental health. I do encourage you, right now there's a circulating flyer for your reference. Also, we're looking for 30 pioneers under the age of 30. I'm looking at you to be nominated for our 30 under 30. This is a huge event we do in July every year, and last year we had almost 300 people show up. So nominate if you know yourself, nominate yourself, but check out our website for more information on that. 30 young people. And then also, we have a Clean Slate Clinic this weekend, and also the second part is going to be in June. So this is going to allow people who, with low offense convictions, to get them expunged or reduced or dismissed. The first of which is a live scan event this Saturday at Acoma Unity Center, and that event flyer is also circulating. And then we'll have a larger one using the same criminal background to do the June 23rd event, where you can speak to a public defender's attorney to kind of see how you can get your small mistakes or even mistake when you're younger reduced or dismissed. All right, have a good one.
Thank you. Next, we'll invite the public to come forward. Public comments. William Cioce.
So I was here to speak on, I guess that's item 16, about HDL. I allege that the hiring of HDL companies and the subsequent cannabis ordinances are corrupt and appears to have been predetermined even before the RFQ was issued initially. I believe that this is improper and that it violates codified policy and the public trust in the bidding system for contracts. I also believe that this is improper in that it violates the public trust invested in our elected officials. Evidence will show city council meeting records approving code enforcement to search properties in preparation of enforcing this ordinance month in advance. Phone messages from the city finance department requesting bids for consulting services prior to city council authorization, suggesting that staff had advanced information on how the vote would go. Meeting minutes from the Citizens Advisory Committee itself regarding cannabis regulation, showing the recommendations being totally opposite of the alleged predetermined ordinances. City council meeting records will also show a change in how different council members and the mayor approach regulations, creating a sudden uniformity on the subject. HDL Company's current contracts with the city in other subject areas show that they have a history, suggesting that the entire RFQ process was rigged to produce a result based on the merits of the individual software offerings, and specifically its ability to provide tax auditing and recovery services, as opposed to its ability to provide cannabis consulting to create ordinances that reflected the will of the people. City council records will also show that this is specifically being timed to avoid having to put these proposed ordinances to a public vote, while ensuring that the timing is correct to put the taxation measures to vote. I name Mayor Kerry Davis, City Council members Virginia Marquez, Benito Barrios, John Valdivia, Fred Charette, Henry Nickel, Basine Richard, James Mahaville, City Manager Andrea Miller, City Attorney Gary Sines, the San Bernardino City Finance Department, HDL companies, and their affiliates as co-conspirators in this violation of policy and corruption of the people's will. I will call as witnesses the Citizen Advisory Committee on Cannabis Regulations, Damon Alexander, Sandria Olivas, Margaret Hill, Larry Quayle, Fred Burks, Frank Flores, Cassie Levy, Randy Wilson, and Stephanie Sanchez. I will also call Carmel Rell, Kathy Mallon, Kim Smith, and Rory Murray as witnesses to the actions of council. And I'd like to ask, where was HDL when we were discussing what to do about high times?
Mr. Cioce, your time's
Thank you.
expired. Thank you. Chaz Kelly. Yes, item 26.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, City staff, and members of the public. Mayor and Council members, and in particular, the City staff of San Bernardino, I know that at times it feels like you're just drinking from the garden hose, but in reality, you're drinking from the fire hose. I understand what difficult challenges you have and how hard it is, and we all believe that we should support you and your endeavors on behalf of the citizens. I also know that you all care deeply about this community, and I know that our city manager is committed to the quality of life for our residents, and I thank you for that commitment. Let me share with you some history on the center of the Vertimont Community Center for those of you who are new to the issue. It began in 2003. Many meetings were held, scoping meetings and input by the public. And that center was funded with a modest grant from the federal government of $500,000 in 2010. When the center opened, it was staffed by volunteers at no cost to the city. You cannot put a value on that, Mayor and members of the council. We owe a great deal to the members of the community who stepped up to the plate and extended the services of our Parks and Recreation Department at no cost to the city. Today you're faced with a decision, and may I respectfully ask that someone on the dais make a substitute motion that the city use the remaining funds identified by the staff for repairs to purchase new modular buildings through a purchase order, and the modular buildings be installed at the same site. In addition, in that motion, direct staff to do all the inspections from the placement to the foundation, from the beginning of the process to the end, so that the same errors of the past are not made. Please do the right thing by the residents of this community and give them an opportunity to visit a community center. For me, I have 2 young grandchildren whom I'd very much like to take 6 minutes from my home to run around and participate in the activities that were created, supported by this city, by the volunteers at that center. At this time, I want to thank the former volunteers, in particular, the Kendall Hills Neighborhood Association, under the direction of Amanda Jacobs, for the countless hours that they have put into providing recreational services for the residents of San Bernardino. Please do the right thing, and please, someone on the dais, make a substitute motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Mandy Jacobs.
Seems like I was just up here. Over the last 6 weeks, we have tried to research and talk with city staff about options for the Vertimont Community Center. We understand there are budget issues, but we also realize that we still have the $263,000 that staff has said was set aside for repairs, which we didn't use. And so our proposal is, instead of just tearing it down and leaving it as empty parkland, that we use that money to purchase new modulars. And we've looked online, we did some research. I did ask staff, but I didn't hear back from that. But they're from $80,000 to $150,000 to replace modulars. I know there was some issue on the foundation, but if we take the existing piers down underneath, because right now the center is on piers, it's not sitting on the concrete, it's sitting on piers. If we take those down and replace it with new ones, the issue, there is no regulation against that, because all we had to have is concrete pad the concrete slabs, according to the state regulations. Placing a new building would still leave us with $113,000 to $180,000 after buying the modulars to do the placement and demolishing. That should be enough money. But the bottom line is, we know there were mistakes made, and we just want to go forward and do what's best for the community. If we can use that money to preserve our community center, we've worked hard in our end of the city. We have nothing there. We have no community center. We have no pools. There is nothing at the north end. And we deserve, as residents, to have the community center and keep it. So I'm just asking that we, instead of just tearing it down, that we use the money and we first order a replacement and then we demolish and put the new building on. And I appreciate staff's help, but hopefully we can get this done and not lose what we worked hard to get. Thank you.
Thank you. Kim Knaus.
Hello. I'm sure you can gather why I'm here. I am a Fourth Ward resident, and I first want to point out, we were here in April. The morale of our city, we know, is low, and understandably so. You hear a lot of comments about the city council not caring, not wanting to hear our voices. I appreciate each and every one of you, because when we came here in April, you showed that that was not the case. You not only listened, you voted. And I appreciate you, and I want to say thank you and make sure that I highlight that and point that out. So thank you. It gave us time to speak with our Public Works Director, and I thank Trish Ray for her time. But now we are left with still the agenda item to demolish the community center. And the question is still, and then what? What is proposed tonight still does not leave our community with a community center. And that is sad. Our city went through a bankruptcy. We understand that. We all went through that bankruptcy. We had to endure the impacts of that bankruptcy. So we understand when it comes to priorities for our city, there are streets that need to be improved. There's police officers that need to be hired. We get it. We're not here asking for a $5 million community center. Even though I think we deserve it, we're not asking for that. We're asking for a modular to be replaced. That's it. I think it would be so unfortunate if we, the residents, have to keep coming back to City Council, have to keep calling, emailing, and begging our city for a trailer that is going to support and benefit our community as a community center. I don't have to tell you guys the benefit and value that a community center brings to a community. We all know that. To take this community center away and not replace it is tragic. I really hope today that when it comes to agenda item number 26, that you guys strongly think about not just demolishing that building, but making a motion to replace it. Get bids to demolish it. We understand that it has to be demoed. We get it. However, let's make the and then what in the agenda. Let's cover that. Let's make sure that that community center is replaced. We all know there are ways to get that done. As they stated, and there's volunteers here from the previous center that was closed down, selfless hours were put into that community center to make it work, to make it cost efficient, and to not make it a burden on our city. It can still be done again. I hope that you guys continue on with this positivity that you showed us in April, and when it comes to agenda item number 26, that you consider what we have said. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Lynette Kaplan.
Hello. I was one of the first people before it was on the ground who was involved with this project. I scrubbed toilets there. I scrubbed floors there. I talked to Friends of the Library into donating books there. I taught drama there. I started a women's sewing group there. I've been to community meetings where community has diversity. With diversity, we have polarization. A community center is a place we can come together. Without the politics, without the religious issues, it gives our kids a chance to see people who are different than themselves. There's no reason that there shouldn't be a little community center up there. We're not asking for the Taj Mahal. We've sat patiently. We went and weeded. We try to keep an eye on it. Please, please, use the money. Put some modulars there. Our kids will love it. As I said, you should have sat and seen the little kids at the reading hour and how excited they were to come into the library and exchange books. Please vote to put a portable community center there for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other speaker slips for items on the agenda? Thank you. We'll next hear from items that are not on the agenda. Alice Geske. Alice Geske. Andrea Macis.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, and community members. My name is Andrea Harlan, and I'm Congressman Pete Aguilar's new field representative for the city of San Bernardino. I know that you're all very familiar with our office, our team, and the services that we provide, and I've even met a few of you, out in the city. But I wanted to come and reintroduce myself in my new role. Like Congressman Aguilar, I'm from San Bernardino, went to school at Cajon High School, graduated from CSUSB. So all this to say, I care deeply about this city like all of you. And if there's anything that our office or I can do to assist you, please let me know. If ever in your busy schedule you have time to meet, I'd be happy to come sit down with you and learn about your plans for the city and see what goals we can accomplish together. Also want to remind residents in the council that if there's any residents who have an issue with a federal agency, feel free to come to our office in San Bernardino, and we can open a congressional inquiry for you and really get some work done. So I just want to keep it brief, say hello to all of you, and I look forward to working with you all. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Andrea, the speaker slip is Andrea Nasis?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said Andrea Harlan.
No. But,
oh, I'm sorry. No wonder you were all kind of like... Well, anyway, now you'll remember me, right?
Andrea Nasis? Keisha McGee?
Hi, good evening. My name is Keisha McGee, and I am with ICUC. We are part of PICO National Network, the biggest faith-based organization group in the country, and a key faith-based group that has supported ceasefire efforts across the country. We know from the California Partnership for Safe Communities, problem analysis, and recommendations that the workload will take more than just one case manager and one outreach worker. Please remember that their recommendations is to target the 18 to 35-year-olds at the highest risk of being involved in gun violence. And their recommendation is 8 case workers and 12 outreach workers to be able to set a successful VIP program. With that being said, we are very pleased that the city was awarded the $500K for 2 years through the Venture Intervention Grant from the state, and we are here to once again state that ICUC is not seeking funding from the city nor from the grant. Also, we are here to reiterate that the funds be allocated properly to the organizations and groups that are established and dedicated to do the work of the Violence Intervention Program, intent and objectives. And even though I commend these new pop-up groups and organizations who have provided our community with free shoes, hot dogs, and block parties, that is not the vital resources needed to meet the needs nor solve the problem of violence in San Bernardino. We need vital resources such as mental health services, drug rehabilitation, housing, education, and job training, long-lasting resources and tools that will change one's life path forever. So we once again are asking the powers that be in deciding deciding where the funding should go, that they do so solely based on those organizations and groups qualified that suits the intent and objectives of the VIP ceasefire, and not, well, you know how the saying goes, people who know people, that's how they get in. Thank you.
Thank you. Don Thomas?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dawn Thomas. I'm a member of ICUC as well as a board member, and I also go to Cathedral of Praise in San Bernardino. ICUC has always been a strong advocate for peace within San Bernardino and our surrounding communities. In 2005, we held a prayer vigil after the death of Melanie Myers, who was killed due to gun violence in this community. We have supported various efforts in our city through the community engagement, voter engagement, and organizing around various issues of concern to our congregations. On September 2013, ICUC clergy brought in Reverend Michael McBride from Pico National and a clergy leader from the Bay Area, where the program is proving positive results, to share the model of this program to the ICUC clergy. On September 4th, 2014, once again we held a prayer vigil in remembrance of Michelle Myers and her sister Melanie Myers, who was stabbed to death in her own home. At this vigil, ICUC clergy and community leaders asked San Bernardino Mayor Davis and Chief of Police Bergeron to commit to meet with the ICU clergy and community leaders to learn and explore Richmond, California's Operation Ceasefire program. Commitments to meet were made. Since our first prayer walk in January 28, 2015, about 3,000 congregants have participated in our monthly Common Ground for Peace prayer walks. About 2,300 petitions were submitted to our city council and former city manager, along with many calls made by Congress to city council members in support of a comprehensive ceasefire program that became the San Bernardino Violence Intervention Program. We commend the City Council, Chief Bergeron, and Mayor Davis for your due diligence in making sure the VIP program is implemented in San Bernardino. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrea Harlan.
Who's Andrea Harlan?
Would the real Andrea Harlan please stand up? Cynthia Farr.
Hello, my name is Cynthia Farr. I have my Bachelor's of Science in Applied Physics from California State University of San Bernardino and a minor in mathematics. Currently, I'm working on my internship as well preparing to go to grad school. I am a resident of San Bernardino, and I do not want the city of San Bernardino's shelter to be outsourced. It would look bad for the city. It'll take jobs from San Bernardino. It would cause many public safety issues, and because no one is going to take care of San Bernardino like we can. We are improving San Bernardino. We just got out of a bankruptcy. Improving the shelter is improving the city. So not only would it take jobs from San Bernardino, which would give less money to the city, but it would also be a public safety issue because people will not take their animals anywhere. They're not going to take their animals to any cities. They're going to leave. It's a high chance that they will leave them on the streets, which they most likely will be hit by cars or worse. You all have heard from some of the volunteers and organizations that have been stepping up to help San Bernardino, and especially to help the San Bernardino City Shelter. And with Oscar Perez working there at the shelter, we have been able to almost have the shelter not have to euthanize animals anymore, which could make it into a no-kill shelter. They went from euthanizing about 60% of the animals that would go in to down to 15%. 8% is a no-kill rate. In the eyes of the animal community, this shelter is becoming a great example of what a shelter should be. Please, allow us to continue improving the shelter so we can keep jobs in our city, keep the public, as well the animals safe, and so we can continue to make the San Bernardino City strive.
Thank you. Sergio Luna.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council.
My name is Sergio Luna, I'm sorry. I'm a member of Lady Guadalupe Catholic Church, and I'm an organizer with ICUC in San Bernardino. As ICUC, we are gathering signatures from voters in favor of schools and communities first to be on the 2020 ballot. This proposition will close the loophole on business property taxes and bring over $417 million every year to San Bernardino County. From this funding, 40% of it goes to schools, public schools, and 60% of it will go to county and city government. We need our city council to pass a resolution in support of schools and communities first, as it will bring additional funding to our city and our schools' budgets. Lastly, we know there are a handful of members of a hate group going around city councils trying to pass resolutions against the California Values Act. They are known members of a local hate group based in the Pomona area and are listed under the Southern Poverty Law Center as one of the two operating groups in the state of California. We expect our city leaders and elected officials not to listen to their hateful advice and agenda, and instead to pass a resolution like other cities in California have that states that we will continue to follow the California Values Act as is a state law. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephanie Linfesti.
Good afternoon. My name is Stephanie Lenfesti, and I'd like to start out with just thanking you. I've spoken a couple times on this subject, and I just want to thank you for allowing us to speak and working with you. I'm here to represent San Bernardino City Shelter, and as I've spoken on before, I am a puller for the shelter. I rescue animals that are about to be put down, along with several others. The city shelter is amazing. They actually are the only city shelter in California that work directly with the rescues. In literally moments when they come into the shelter, we get texts and we can work together to immediately go to the shelter, pull these animals, and get them the vet care or the fostering or rescue that they needed. It literally has saved over 7,000 lives this year. We've dropped the euthanization rate from over 60% to now down to 10% this week. It has been an amazing feat on behalf of so many volunteers. We are at the end game at this point, and being able to save this many lives has obviously really made a difference. I can only speak also on behalf of my personal story, which is when I actually rescue the animals, most of the animals coming in are literally from the inner city here in San Bernardino. And when I'm taking them in, I'm seeing people saying to me in the parking lot, they have no other place to go. They don't have a car to take their animals to Riverside or up to DeVore. They would literally be dropping their animals off in the streets of this city, where unfortunately those animals that will be dumped in the city would eventually procreate and cause more animals. We will then have an overrun population of cats and dogs running around in the city, and it would make our job as rescuers even more difficult. So we're trying to work with you, see if there's any opportunities that we can come up with a better solution. I know the city shelter is run down, but we sure would like to work with you in making the city shelter an actual better place for people to bring their animals. There's also a huge community of people that have signed signatures. Over 12,600 people have signed signatures on change.org. And I have that flyer here if you want to pass it around. We're getting more signatures every day. So the community is really concerned about this. They do want to have a place to bring their animals. And the city shelter has definitely been miraculous ever since Oscar Perez took over as the manager. He has worked with us rescues, and in working together, we have solved a huge issue in the euthanization of innocent animals. If they do go to, if they do go to Riverside, unfortunately, we don't see that even happening because Riverside is already overrun with animals. and we just don't want them to be dumped on the streets. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate your help in this matter.
Thank you. Anna Hamilton.
Good evening. First of all, I'm Anna Hamilton. I'm with the Diocese of San Bernardino, also a member of the ICUC group. And again, we'd like to thank all of you for, many of you who have taken the time to walk with us and participate in this program and to make our dream of the violence intervention program a reality. But now we need to create accountability to the community that it's serving. VIP should have a working group, like cities that have applied this violence reduction model, that is made of at least 1/3 of the community members, that also includes our ICUC and other community groups, to ensure that no toxic politics get in the way of saving lives in the city of San Bernardino. Today, we present to you 800 new petitions signed by the community members. This is in addition to 2,300 that were signed and delivered to council when we were at the other location. We ask that these be handed to the city manager for review, and we thank you for your time, your efforts, and for joining us in our mission. Thank you.
Thank you. Marie Scheffler. Marie Scheffler.
Hi, my name is Marie Scheffler. I'm here to talk about the City Shelter 2. I'm also with Daisy's Hope Foundation, which is a shelter intervention program. They also put on a free spay and neuter van that we sponsor for the residents of San Bernardino. We just had one on last Thursday. It was at the 66ers parking lot. There were 102 puppies and adult dogs received 5-in-1 vaccinations and rabies. 115 puppies and dogs were microchipped. Food was handed out to 117 families, pet food, for the ones that are having trouble feeding their animals. 19 dogs were spayed. Unfortunately, the van had some sort of electrical problem. They had to go back to the vet to finish the spay and neuter. So they're going to be done. The rest of them will be done this week. And so this is an ongoing, providing the spay and neuter van, which is free to the residents of San Bernardino, so that that we're trying to keep the population down from heading into the shelter. And Daisy's Hope is a fairly new organization getting going, so they're on board with trying to help the shelter keep the population down. So, of course, we want the shelter to stay open. We're concerned that some of the residents in San Bernardino don't have the means to go to another city if it's outsourced to another city. Daisy's Hope has also recently started TNR division, which is doing spay and neuter for feral cats to try and keep that population down. I also have statistics on the amount of animals that are brought into the city shelter. Approximately 55% of the dogs and cats brought in are brought in by the public. So only 45% are picked up by animal control. If you outsource it, we don't see those people actually coming to the shelter to bring in stray animals or to come and look for their animals. So again, we'd like to see the shelter stay open. The city is coming out of bankruptcy. What a great legacy you could provide if you provide a new shelter, state of the art, move it with the times, do what is helpful for the residents of the city instead of outsourcing it. And I don't have much else to say other than what's already been said. I know I've already talked to about it before, but we're here to help the shelter in any way that we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Louis Ojeda.
Hello, good evening, everybody. I want to start by saying thank you to Councilmember Marquez for their help in fixing potholes in some of my street. Thank you very much for that. Also, since nobody from City Hall or code enforcement has listened, took it into myself to start picking up illegal dumping. We're doing community service every Sunday, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m., only 3 hours. I've been reaching out to Burtec to see if they will help us with the dump fees. And I talked to Mr. Steve Brashaw, I think is his name. And he was sympathetic to our cause the first time. After that, he never picked up my calls. And I remember a few weeks ago that he was here, or somebody from Burtec was here. They said, just call us and we get it done. Well, that's not true. So hopefully we'll remember that next time they renew their contract, that we're basically doing their job by cleaning up the streets. And we invite the community to help us every Sunday, 7 to 10, only 3 hours. My phone number is 562-572-9676. And if anybody wants to join us, they're welcome. Last Sunday we had 2 trucks. They were full of capacity, only half a block. It was so filthy. And I've been going around the city. In any area that needs help, please reach out to me, and I'll be glad to go take a truck or 2, or as many trucks are needed to do the cleanup. The other day, I believe last meeting we have, the city manager says that, well, potholes are important, but not really, in case we have an earthquake, right? Well, I've been waiting for the San Andres Fault for 30 years. It's not here yet. And last week, I popped one of my tires in one of the huge potholes just throughout the city. So I just wanted to know and to ask the council members and the mayor, if it's an accident or my car gets damaged by a pothole, who's liable? So, and now I don't get mad, because sometimes Mr. Valdivia told me that government works slow, and I just want to remind everybody that we make the government. So if the government works slow, it's because we're slow. So I would invite the public not to get mad, get busy. So either doing what we can for the city. So I'm starting by using my money, my equipment, to clean up the city. So I invite everybody to vote and to help with the cleanup. Thank you.
Linda Peterson.
Hi, I'm Linda Peterson, longtime resident of San Bernardino, 48 years. I think vicar of St. John's Episcopal Church and a member of ICUC, and I want to comment on the VIP program. We thank the city for the work it's done thus far in getting more positive attention on the violence intervention program, and for setting aside funds from Measure Z to staff the program with 2 San Bernardino Police Department captains and 1 manager, which we heard early enough is only the barest of beginnings. So what we recommend is that the city matches the state grant, the $500,000 was it, with more funds from Measure Z as possible, and try to increase the number of staff that will be hired. Then, too, we also understand that there are so many needs to address on how to improve police and community relations that we applaud the fact that procedural justice trainings are in the original proposal for the program of VIP, because the procedural justice trainings have a key bond between the public and the police department. We would like to ensure that these trainings, that they take place, and that the San Bernardino Police Department African American Advisory Board and the ICUC are included in the thinking part of it, as we are connected, ICUC is, at a national level with clergy that are helping lead this type of trainings. We know some very fine people, and using the board, the African American Advisory Board and the ICUC contributors will help the process. It has been shown that preparatory thinking with informed leaders leads to a successful program launch. And we're just happy that it's finally starting step by step. Thank you.
Thank you. Al Palazzo.
My name is Al Palazzo, Mayor and members of the City Council. It's come to my attention that the candidate form for the mayor's race that was being considered by KVCR has been canceled because what was told to me, some candidates didn't want to attend. KVCR does the community a great service. Half of the people that are running for mayor are on the dais. Maybe one of you might use your influence to get that form back on track, because I attended a candidate forum yesterday and all the candidates were present, and it was a great opportunity, but all of you who are candidates and the community would probably hear your message better if it was on KVCR, because it reaches more people in the community. And I just wanted to share this with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Andy Patel. Andy Patel.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Andy. I'm a local hotel owner. There is a wrong statement spreading in our community about all the hotel owners in San Bernardino love our council member John Valdivia because of John favor to the drug and prostitution and marijuana business and make money from it. But that's not true. Mayor Davis has been a mayor for a long time. What have you done? What step have you taken instead of pointing the finger to the local hotel owners and to the John? You need to work hard and mix different and try to solve this drug and prostitution problem. I'm in the city for so long and it's nothing getting better. John is doing great in his Ward 3 by bringing a new business, more revenue to the city. What have you done to the Mayor Davis? What have you done to bring more tourists or leisure guests to our city and try to make more revenue for the city? I have a hope to see the better future of San Bernardino through the goal that John has. So I do want John to be a future mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Ashwin Patel.
All right, Mayor and Council member, my name is Ashwin, and my family owns several hotels in the city of San Bernardino. I am here to condemn this outrageous attack against local motel owners. This mailer that your campaign supporters distributed is truly disgraceful, and that's what it is. I have seen it. I have heard about this a couple days ago, but I didn't believe it. But then I see this. It looks like it is really bad. It says San Bernardino motel owners love John Valdivia and gave him $3,100 to your next mayor. San Bernardino motels are heaven for prostitution, human trafficking, and crime. San Bernardino pimps or prostitutes will keep their place of business with Valdivia as your mayor. You need to really work hard. Who did this? You have really good police department, especially like I have seen Many of them, like Lieutenant Rich, Kim Hernandez, they are really working hard to find this stuff taking away from the city of San Bernardino. And I want you to work hard for that. Help them out. So, Mayor, you need to take responsibility of your supporters' action. One of your closet campaign aides was caught bragging about this mailer on social media before it was mailed. My family is very disappointed in your actions. By looking this, we, all our friends, relatives, employees, and customers, to oppose your re-election for a mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Mia Dravis?
Okay, I'm also here to talk about the animal shelter.
Could you please speak into the mic?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm also here to speak about the animal shelter. So thank you for this time to be able to speak about it. You know, we all realize that it's, you know, you're really considering shutting the animal shelter and contracting out with Riverside. We know that it's a high kill shelter in Riverside. We know that's not going to be good for the animals. We know all that. You guys, you know that people probably most likely are not going to drive their animals all the way down there. They're going to dump them. And all the great resources that the city has with the way that all the rescues are actually bringing just their involvement in to help with the animals, spay and neuter, vaccinations, you know, going and rescuing animals, doing more than what just even the animal control can do, just what, you know, a plethora of great resources that if these animals are sent to Riverside, that a lot of that's going to be lost. And so last time I do recall at the city council meeting, even a representative from Best Friends came in. So I don't, you know, which kind of is not cool. I don't care for is that we sit here and we talk and we say blah, 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 whatever. And then, but we don't ever have like a discussion with how can we brainstorm together and work together to resolve the issue in a way that is going to meet the needs that the city has and also meet the needs of the community. And community also includes environment and animals too. Saying all of that, I hope that this city council will really take the time to examine and to sit down with the rescues and to sit down with Best Friends and say, you know what, this is really what, you know, we're dealing with. But if you guys can come up with the plan that will work, I mean, Best Friends has gone into a lot of cities and they have pulled shelters from being very high kill shelters, just pits, to being shelters that are now shelters that like Austin Pets Alive. I mean, it's a great example of a shelter that now people come from all over the world to train at that shelter in Austin. I mean, they are constantly doing apprenticeships and seminars for people, and it's really just given Austin a good reputation. So I really do hope that that is something that you will consider besides, you know, setting aside just Riverside, but also consider that too. So I do thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Carol Donnelly.
Hi, I'm Carol Donnelly. I'm a resident of San Bernardino. There are a couple things I want to run by you. First of all, the upcoming mayor election. I'm going to focus on the voters. And several years ago, our ex-mayor called me and asked me if I was going to vote for Measure Z. I said I didn't know anything about Measure Z, but he said it's for law enforcement, and that's all you have to tell me. If it's for law enforcement, I'm there. I'm the founder of Citizens Offering Police Support, COPS. I signed it, and well, imagine my shock several months later when I found out that the funding actually didn't go to our police department. It was somehow switched over to his Operation Phoenix after-school program. That was bad enough. And then it was brought to my attention that the person that he hired to run this after-school program for kids was a known child molester. And then I found out that they were doing paintball fights on the property. And then they were filming sex tapes on the property. We've got to protect our kids. I'm disappointed in San Bernardino. I'm from Simi Valley, one of the best cities in the United States. And why? Because we've got a strong, big police department and a fire department. I went through the Northridge earthquake. I lost everything. If it hadn't been for the police and the fire, I don't know what we would have done. I value our cops. They put their life on the line for us. And I want a mayor who is going to step forward and really be tough. I want a mayor who's going to make police our number one priority. I don't care how many cutbacks we need, what we have to take money from, but the police department and the fire department will not be part of that. I'm so. The other night I'm listening to KFI radio. They had people calling in. Don't go out to San Bernardino because I had a car accident on the freeway and nobody ever showed up. I called the tow truck and no cops available. There were 2 people breaking into the laundry room where I live a couple of months ago. I called the department. Nobody answered. Nobody came out. I'm not going to go down there by myself. I'm going to be relocating pretty soon out of San Bernardino because to me it's a, what do you do? As a founder of COPS and the LA Angel Whisperer from the City of Angels, I've already decided who I'm going to vote for. It's going to be one of the 2 people since I've been out here that really backed me with law enforcement. John Valdivia, you've got my vote as the founder of COPS, and you've got my vote as the LA Angel Whisperer from the City of Angels. And it's up to you. You've got to make this one of the best cities instead of one of the worst. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Nick Patel.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Nick Patel. I'm also a local hotel owner here in San Bernardino. I wish to protest in the strongest possible manner about this negative campaign mailer that malies against all hotel owners in San Bernardino, such as like this one. The mailer makes libelous statements implying that San Bernardino hotel owners like myself are somehow involved with prostitutions and gangs. It is an attack against dozens of local business owners who are bringing substantial tourism revenue to our city. Mayor Davis, this offensive campaign mailer was distributed by at least 2 of your closest campaign supporters. Public has the right to know if you had any foreknowledge or involvement with this mailer. How is our city supposed to attract new businesses when the mayor's supporters are sending campaign mailers attacking those of us who are already doing businesses in San Bernardino? Mayor Davis, shame on you and your supporters. You owe every hotel owner in San Bernardino a personal apology for your offensive behavior. Once again, this is what it looks like.
Arturo Orozco.
Good evening. My name is Arturo Orozco. I am a 17 years old and a senior at San Gregorio High School, and also a youth organizer with ICUC. We are engaged back in 2006 to get voters to learn about the Measure Z and all of our congregations to support what it was intended for. Ever since, we have engaged voters to support local and state initiatives. In 2012, we engaged 25,000 voters to support funding for public schools in the San Bernardino Unified School District, and continues to bring additional millions every year. In 2014, we engaged over 35,000 to support the state ballot initiative to reform our justice system that prioritizes treatment and not incarceration. In the last major election, we spoke with over 45,000 new and infrequent voters to support extending funding for the public schools until 2030. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Roger? Deborah Christ?
Good evening. I'm here to share with you an idea I have in a way we can help our homeless of the city. I've lived here for 10 years, and I, like everybody else, have seen a drastic increase in the amount of homeless people. If you drive up and down Highland Avenue at night, they're in every corner and encampment along the way. And so I also live in that area, so I see a lot of it. And I was at the laundromat a couple weeks ago, and there's a man sleeping against the building, and the tenant wanted him to leave. And all he kept saying over and over again was, please, let me sleep. I just want to go to sleep. Please let me stay and sleep. And I thought to myself, I felt that way before, where I just wanted to get sleep. You know, I mean, that's all I could think about and focus on was, please, just let me go to bed, you know. And so it got me thinking about an idea. And I've seen lots of empty lots, you know, around San Bernardino, buildings, etc. And what if we took one of those lots and divided or somehow made it so that the person could come there at night and just have a place to park there? Because, you know, those carts they have, they're not going to let go of those things. They're their belongings. They've had them forever. They're not going to let loose of those. And that would be a start for them to have a place to go, just to rest. And then maybe they would gain a, you know, a little toehold on dignity, because they don't have that anymore. You know, they don't have anything really. And so I wanted to share with you, because I see these empty things and I see the people that are sad and unhappy. And we, you know, it's a big problem. It's getting worse by the minute, it seems like. And then the other thing is, LA County has a program they have where it's Lava May, and it's mobile showers and toilets, and they take retired transportation vehicles and they turn them into these mobile showers. And so they go around to different places on a schedule during the week, and then the homeless can take a shower, and then just think of that, you know, then they can feel good about themselves maybe for a minute, just to go maybe get an interview with a job. Because now, you know, with the way things are, they're, you know, they're dirty, they haven't had a bath, they're not going to go and do anything, they're not motivated to do anything. So I think with these ideas, maybe they'll, you know, get going on something positive in their life. And the one thing about the lots I thought of versus buildings is there will be no power bills, no electric. You know, if you put people in a building, there's going to be bills. But lots or empty places like that, you know, there isn't anything. And I think it would make a difference. That's it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Scott Melody. Excuse me, Scott and Melody Stevenson.
I got a pretty loud voice. I don't think I'll need a mic. My name is Scott Stevenson. This is my wife, Melody. And we're here to share with you and to bring to light how our union is working on changing the views on public employees, as our nation just finished up celebrating Public Service Recognition Week, which ended on May 12th. Last Friday, our union, Teamsters Local 1932, took out a full-page ad stating just that, recognizing our public service employees. And that's just the beginning. There's many more to come. Our local is working on changing the public's view of public employees and the unions.
I am like you need the mic. Public employees are there when you dial 911. They're there to keep our parks safe and clean. They dedicate their lives to teaching our children. They assist those who are in need of public assistance, such as CalWorks, CalFresh, and Medi-Cal. They help maintain our water, our streets, and they nurse us back to health when we need it.
So, through all of this and much more, public employees proudly serve the Inland Empire. And our union of over 14,500 working people, Teamsters Local 1932, is fighting to produce positive changes for the public organizations we work with and the communities we thrive in. So we ask that you also join us in raising the bar and recognizing these people who are not only valuable employees, but also caring residents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to this gentleman in the back here who's getting busy and helping to clean up our city. Thank you.
James Smith.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council people, and city staff, City Mayor's office, doing a great job. I just wanted to indicate that this city is moving in the right direction. And it started last year with Burtec. You heard about Burtec, the cooperation we have in the city of San Bernardino. They're a tremendous asset for our community. Second of all, we brought on the county fire. And I realize that it costs the citizens a small parcel tax, but still we're reduced the response times by 50% in our city. I think it's worth that value that we added here in the city of San Bernardino. Third of all, our mayor came up with a citizens committee concerning the charter. And I certainly want to thank all the citizens of San Bernardino that supported a new city charter. We are moving in the right direction. We are out of bankruptcy. We have a new playing field with a city manager who's been selected to serve our city for 5 years. I have never seen a city council work so cooperatively as they are at this time. I was here in 1977 when we became an all-America city. For the first time, I think we have the opportunity now with a new structure at City Hall to move in that direction again. It's not going to happen overnight, but there's so many other positive items that I want to share. One of them also is a quality of life team under Captain Lawhead is doing a tremendous job. And have you noticed, I can't remember the last time that we actually had a quote-unquote murder in the city of San Bernardino. We're doing something right. We're hiring new police officers. Our police chief, Barjuan, is doing a tremendous job. We're hiring new policemen. The new fire chief is doing a tremendous job. I feel confident now that this city is on the move in the right direction. We do not need a change of course. Lastly, I want to strongly encourage everyone to vote on June the 5th. I think we're at a watershed for this city of San Bernardino. Let's keep what we're doing in the same manner and not try to change course just for the willingness of other people. Thank you.
Thank you. Barbara Babcock.
It's good to be here. I was in a car accident last week, and I want to give a big shout out to Dr. Cheeley. Gigi told me about him, the most phenomenal chiropractor I've ever seen. Now, Janita says she has one that's as good, but they're the top two in the city. I want to welcome back our city manager. You lost your mother, and you've been getting a lot of crap from a lot of people. And I just want to say, I appreciate you. I knew you the last time around, and you're doing what you were hired to do, and you are appreciated. I know if other people get elected, you'll be gone. Not going to happen. I'm not going to say what I thought I was going to say today. And it's probably a good thing. I should not have asked advice of people that I respect. They said, leave it alone. So I will. I'll talk instead about a little bit about the animal shelter. I have met some phenomenal friends at Redlands Remax. Hilda Valenzuela Wentland is one of the most phenomenal realtors I've ever met. Because of her, I met Janine Nielsen, who is with Daisy's Hope. And I used to go in to visit Hilda, and I'd see this woman coming in. I just spent $1,500 on feed and stuff for the cats, cat food, cat litter. What is the name of the deputy that was murdered a couple of months ago? Fawcett? He was a sheriff, and he was bashed in the head, and he died. He was one that supported heavily what Daisy's Hope Foundation was doing. He had 30 cats at the time that he was fostering and giving a lot of money to. Norm Nunez, I'm going to come talk to you about setting up something to help Daisy's Hope Foundation. Cesar Milan, the world-famous dog trainer, the dog whisperer, is willing to help build a new shelter. Interesting, I wrote my notes on the Sentinel, which is really kind of dog trash, use it for your cat litter. But it's interesting because it says, FBI's craft probe magnifies with searches at City Hall and Mayor's home. Rich Kerr from Adelanto. You know what? If Mayor Davis is reelected, and I hope you are, there will be no searches of your house or your city council. You don't work with Palma Management. Get your facts straight, people. The press knows how to reach me. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speaker slips, City Clerk? All right, thank you. We'll now move on to consent calendar. There are two items that I need to declare conflict due to campaign contributions, item number 18 and item number 20.
Mr. Mayor, if I
City
may
Manager.
also, and I apologize, I thought you had more speaker slips, on the agenda item number 15 related to the salary compensation for employees, we have provided a change in the exhibit. It doesn't substantially change it, but we did notice we transposed a couple of numbers. So you do have the inserted sheets, and those are also available publicly.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a motion for the consent calendar? Excuse me, Councilmember Marquez.
None for me, sir.
Councilmember Barrios?
None.
Thank you. Councilmember Valdivia?
Item number 17.
None, sir.
Thank you. Councilmember Richard?
None tonight.
Councilmember Mulvihill?
None, Your Honor.
Thank you. Item number 17,
Second.
we have a motion for the consent calendar balance, and the second, I think Councilman Mulvihill made the second. Thank you.
With the change to agenda item number 15.
With the change, Councilman Valdivia? With the change? Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, Councilman Valdivia made that, and it includes the change to agenda item 15?
He doesn't need to unless it wasn't, I'm sorry, number 17 wasn't one of the items you were supposed to
item number
conflict on.
15, you
Oh,
said
okay.
the change to that, yes. Thank you.
On the consent calendar, the motion to approve was made by Mr. Valdivia, the second by Mr. Mulvihill, and the item passes 6-0.
Thank you. Item number 17 is to adopt the resolution number 2018-137 of the Mayor and City Council of the City of San Bernardino, California, authorizing a service agreement between the San Bernardino International Airport Authority and the City of San Bernardino for police services. Councilman Valdivia?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to direct my questions more to our city manager, and perhaps maybe you can provide some clarity, guidance. The Airport Authority has, as I understand it, a service agreement with the city police department.
Correct.
And so my question is, what areas of influence are these patrols? How do they enhance the economic portion of the airport? And what are exactly entailed here in their providing services for the Airport Authority?
Sure. I'm going to step back actually a little bit because I think it kind of helps provide some context for where we are today. There has been a service agreement between the city and the airport for some period of time. Over the last several months, it came to my attention that we were in a position where we had our employees supervising employees of theirs. As I look back through the prior, and I'll have the chief kind of talk about maybe if you have specifics about what the level of supervision was, but the agreement was really intended to recognize in part not only the fact that there was economic activity going on there, but really an airport is a really very critical facility that we have. As we do emergency planning, we identify those facilities that are most critical to us in the event of an emergency situation or potentially could be the target of some activity. So there's a value to us having some relationship, very close relationship with the airport in the event we have any type of an emergency situation. That has grown. Obviously, the airport has changed dramatically over the years. There's more and more activity there. This agreement is really a very different agreement than the one you've seen in prior years, where we've attempted to really identify what services do we need to provide there, what that relationship needs to be, and really places the airport in a position where they are primarily responsible for their security services. So they're actually assuming more responsibility, but we're still maintaining that level of relationship so that in the event of an emergency, we have those operating protocols already established, and there's no delay in responding to any incidents that occur there.
Very good. So my takeaway is that there are professional standards in place, I'm assuming, so that the provisions of these, are they security guards? Are they sworn officers? And what credentialing body oversees the operations of our security at the airport?
And it's changed. Before we were providing supervision directly to their staff. We wanted to eliminate that so that we were making sure that we weren't in a position where there were potential issues in terms of differences of policies and things. So this agreement really takes us out of that role and has a captain's position. So we will have a captain that's familiar with airport operations. There are specific credentialing requirements, and the chief can speak to some of those if you have an interest in those. But there are specific credentialing requirements for law enforcement personnel that are on-site at an airport. We really wanted to remove the day-to-day operational responsibilities, though, and now we have a captain that will be providing support to them, coordination in terms of broader issues with them, but we won't be providing that day-to-day support. They will be doing that on their own. With that said, though, we do need to maintain some level of training so that we are able to respond there and meet all the various requirements. So they are agreeing to fund some additional training for a core set of officers, and that would be on an annualized basis so that we can ensure that we are able to respond if we need to. And if you have specific questions about...
Well, yeah, I'd love to hear, I mean, I think the segue was to the chief to find out what professional standards are in place and what are the actual areas of patrol, and if we could walk through that.
Yes, and again, I'm going to have him specifically kind of address what are we doing versus what are they doing, because we have changed that in this agreement, so they're assuming greater responsibility for their actual site.
So as the city manager indicated, this really is broken into two levels of service. First level of service is what the airport provides, and that is in the form of security services. All of the existing security guards that work for the airport right now are employed by SBIA, and under the current arrangement, under the current MOU, they are supervised by one police sergeant. That is a relationship that we feel was best to somehow modify to kind of modernize that agreement. The existing agreement, I think, is somewhere between 20 and 25 years old. Yeah, so it's
time.
It was overdue
Yeah,
to make some changes to it. Now, with that said, the airport is going to, under this new agreement, they will take over complete and total supervision of their personnel and their particular employees that are providing those security services on the airport property. All along, it's always been San Bernardino police officers that would have responded to emergency calls for service that took place at the airport property. That will continue under the new agreement. It will be a regular patrol call for service. In addition to that, to maintain the relationship, there are times when the airport might be required because of FAA rules, certain types of flights that come in, whatever that might be. There might be times that it's required to have sworn uniformed police officers that are on site, on the property, on the ground, to abide by FAA rules and those certifications. We're going to provide that if and when those services are needed. We'll have one particular police captain that will be assigned as a liaison to the SBIA board, essentially. And that captain will be involved in whenever notification is made that a certain flight is coming in or certain conditions exist on the airport property that require that level of response. We will coordinate that response, we will handle it, and we will supervise our personnel if and when those times come up. The airport will reimburse us for those services. In addition to that, they will reimburse the city for a percentage of that captain's time. In addition to that, there are certification processes that are required by FAA where certain officers that work on airport property have to have essentially this FAA type certification. SBIA will be paying that we will be able to send 8 officers per year through that certification process so that we'll have that body of officers to call on to work on the airport property if and when those calls for service are needed.
So, Chief, I appreciate your responses. I do have a couple of other questions. I don't know who's the most appropriate. But as I understand it, there seems to be a professional sworn officer duties at the airport, and then there seems to be more of a security guard role. My question is, do these security guards have the appropriate credentials and certifications, such as a guard card issued by California Officer Bureau that has that credentialing jurisdiction?
So the existing guards right now, yes, have that guard card. That's under our supervision process, but they are the employees of the airport. And if Ms. Pritchett wants to speak as to the exact requirements that will be required of their employees, that might be.
And that kind of brings up really what our, and as Kat, because you're certainly welcome, Kat, to come. Kat actually supervises those employees. I mean, that creates some level of concern for us, and that's why we wanted to be very clear. They're responsible for supervising their own employees, maintaining those standards, ensuring they meet all those standards. This relationship really bifurcates that so that we're dealing with our employees and they're dealing with their employees, and we're clearly delineating they're dealing with the security services that are required on site, and when it comes to a law enforcement matter, they will call us as needed, and we will respond. They will then reimburse us for that.
So this is more maybe a minutia legal question for our city attorney. Does the fact, are there clear lines of delineation in this agreement so that the liability of the city is not exposed? Do we have those guards and protections here within our agreement so that there's a specific line?
We do, yes. We added an indemnity clause into the agreement, and the SBIA agreed to it, and it's very clearly delineated as to what our responsibilities are and what we're responsible for.
My second question is, have the existing security personnel at the airport, are they carrying weapons, and do they have the exposed firearm permits as established by the certification body known as the California Bureau of Security and Investigation Board?
City Manager. Hi, Catherine Pritchett, San Bernardino International Airport Authority. I am the Director of Administrative Services and have been working on this agreement with the City Manager and the Police Chief for the past couple of months. We do have 35 part-time security officers at Sabia. Each of them are either active duty or retired officers from San Bernardino Police Department, the county, Riverside, various capacities. They are armed. They all do have Bureau of Security Investigative Services guard cards as well as firearm permits. We do, for just transparency, have 2 that are pending in the bureaucratic system with BSIS. Other than that, they do qualify on a regular basis. We have a contract with the Magnum Range here in town for them to do regular qualifications. And a big reason for the transition of this contract was for us to have more internal controls of these processes.
Very good. My growing concern is that if, in fact, this airport really is slated for growth and takes off and all that good stuff, when I look at the airport properties and I look at the surrounding economic boon that's the potential, we have, do the security officers patrol like Mattel and Stater Brothers perimeter? To what extent do they patrol outside of the airport, the immediate impact of the airport?
They do provide general patrol services to our outlying tenants as more of a customer service
Okay.
duty. Stater Brothers does have their own internal security team, a very robust security team, as does Mattel. Most of our tenants have their own internal security forces.
Do we duplicate services by offering that, or is this just a good neighbor type of practice that our airport authority has decided to provide?
It's more of a good neighbor practice that we offer to our tenants. We have a vested interest in all the development
Oh,
in and around
absolutely.
the airport.
Sure.
And it's more of a corporate park, for lack of a better term. Most of the activity of our officers is within the airport operations area, but they do provide regular patrol services to our outlying properties. We also, the Inland Valley Development Agency also receives services from these guards.
Sure.
And we do have properties outside of the airport authority
Very
properties.
good. Move for approval. Thank you.
Second.
Any further discussion?
Yes, of course. And I believe I heard Mr. Charette on that second? Okay. On item 17, the motion to approve was made by Mr. Valdivia, the second by Mr. Charette, and the item passes 6-0.
Thank you. Next is item number 24. This is the receiver report on the San Bernardino Hometown Heroes Military Banner City Council Subcommittee by Councilmember Virginia Marquez.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have the pleasure of updating agenda item number 24, the San Bernardino Heroes Military Banner Program Ad Hoc Committee, which includes council members Charette, Richard, and yours truly, met on Thursday, April 26th. During our committee meeting, one of our recommendations was to relocate the 12th banner unveiling to the Norton Regional Event Center, IBDA Sibia Boardroom, scheduled for May 30th at 5 p.m., as this council chambers really is not conducive to accommodate a large crowd. This program is very popular and well attended by family and friends. This council chambers, I believe, only accommodates 70 guests comfortably. I do get a lot of complaints that the seats are hard. They're not padded. Sometimes the air conditioning is not working, and it's just not conducive. The proposed location can accommodate up to 180 guests. It is air conditioned, and the seats are stadium seat quality. And the committee would like to make this banner presentation as special as possible for all the men and women from the city of San Bernardino who are serving our country. The Norton Regional Event Center is located at 1601 East 3rd Street. Any comments from the committee members at this time? No? Okay. I do have a question for our city manager real quickly, and this is more for direction to the council staff for clarification purposes. This will be a special event meeting, correct?
Yes, there's no reason for us not to post this. I mean, certainly there are some exceptions, but in the event someone accidentally talks about business, I think it's a better practice to agendize this. So yes, we will agendize this.
Okay, so it'll be posted.
What day was that? For a
For special,
meeting, yeah.
right. May 30th, Wednesday,
You
5
don't have to
p.m.
have a quorum as long as you don't take action.
Got it. Okay, so for the purposes of adjournment for tomorrow's night's meeting, the mayor will adjourn and announce that a special meeting will be held on Wednesday, May 30th at 5 p.m.
Well, first he's going to adjourn to tomorrow
Right,
afternoon's meeting.
right, after tomorrow's meeting, right.
And then after that one, yes.
Okay, if there
We're
are...
going to spend a lot of time together over the next couple of weeks, obviously.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. So if there are no other questions or concerns, I'd like to move this item. Thank you.
Oh, Councilmember Nichols not here.
Yeah, I don't think an action was made, just to receive
Just receive and file. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you for voting.
And I apologize.
Councilmember, what's the date that you mentioned?
It's
The
a
30th?
Wednesday, May 30th, 5 p.m., where we normally meet IBDA Sibia Boardroom. And I know that the next day on Thursday is the law enforcement dinner by the chamber, so they're two separate events.
Thank you. Next is the updated report by Councilmember Nickel.
And I apologize. He told me that he was not going to be able to be here because he had a work conflict, and so I don't know if he meant that I should take this off the agenda, which I should have. I'm sorry.
So
It's been a long month. But yeah, we will continue this item yet until.
Thank you.
Yeah. No,
This
no,
is
no.
just a receive and file.
Right, and I'll just reschedule it when he's here to make his oral report.
Thank you. Next is item number 26. This is to receive, discuss, and provide direction on a report related to the Vermont Community Center project as requested by the Mayor and City Council on the April 4th, 2018 council meeting, and direct staff on the next steps for disposition of the Vermont Community Center.
And Mr. Mayor, members of the council, as Trish is organizing her presentation, I did want to note that I did have a conversation with the Mayor Pro Tem about this, and he requested that in addition to some of the other research that we were asked to do, if we could also provide some cost estimates on temporary structures, including any improvements that need to be made to support those. Trish had that assignment for one day. She's done what she can, but there is probably some information. I know she did well. She's working on it, but we probably do need a little more time to do that. So she's going to walk through the information that was requested at the last meeting. She'll update you on where she is in terms of obtaining that additional information, and then certainly if you like further information. I think we should walk through this now, but just be aware we were asked to get that information. We're trying to collect it as quickly as possible. And yes, at the conclusion of this, you may want to continue it to the next meeting so that we can continue to get the information that was requested. And with that, Trish.
All right. Honorable Mayor and Council, I'm here to address the questions that were raised at the April 4th by the Council and Mayor related to the Verdemont Community Center. The requests for information that the Council provided kind of fell into three categories. One is more detail on the costs and vendors that supported the construction of the community center itself. Data on other community centers for costs of those and timing. And then feedback, making sure that we check in with the community and be able to represent their concerns. So just quickly, background for costs. I'm going to address costs first. The costs that you'll see kind of are focused on three specific kind of actions. First is the original construction, which happened in about 2011. Then there was a remodel that occurred, or an attempt at a rehabilitation in 2016, and then there was the evaluation. So again, the key issues of concern at this point in time are the structural foundation, non-inspection, unable to verify the data, also significant modifications to the modular units, and then location of underground utilities. So this was the sheet or PowerPoint slide that I showed you on the 4th. It has three categories of costs. One is what has already been expended on the project itself. The second is what is currently in the budget for this project or this park. And the third is CIP projects that have been in the past had money allocated to it, but they no longer exist within the CIP. Now, what I'm going to focus on is the top one, because the council asked me to dig in deeper and make sure we understood what the costs were. So that's what this new table is, and I apologize. This is probably really hard to read for anyone in the audience. But I did a pretty significant search on all documents that I could find. And as you see on the last sheet that I represented, the cost I had identified was about $958,000. As I went through the documents, I actually found additional costs that were allocated to this project. However, what I will note and still may want to make clear is no grant funding was used for this project. As you can see, there are three main categories. The first is the construction of the original. Really, there were 5 different contractors, with the main one being Roadway Engineering, that did the substantial construction of the original facility. There was construction management and also purchase of the modulars, which was the biggest part of that. In 2012, there was some mitigation work that needed to be done because of the roof construction. It was leaking, and also the foundation drains, or the lack of foundation drains around the perimeter of the building. Water was able to wick into the siding, and we had mold growth and had to take care of that. And then in 2016, direction was given to look into interior rehabilitation of the facility, and this started, and these costs are associated with starting that activity. However, as we got into it, we found that there was more issues than what we realized, and we stopped, and the final cost was the evaluation. And I think last time at the meeting I said I thought it was $40,000. It was only $14,000. Okay, the next topic that the council asked for was what have we spent on other community centers in the recent past. One has received a new modular unit, pretty much similar to what was placed in Verdemont. And as you can see, if you go back to that chart for the building portions, and that's what I forgot to cover, I broke these costs into two because there was confusion last time at the council about what was accountable to the building versus the other amenities. So I broke that out so you could see what was actually invested into the building versus the basketball courts and amphitheater. So the cost for the Ann Sherrill's Community Center is similar to what we invested for the Verdemont Community Center. And this is the only community center that has received any significant investments in the last 40 years that we can tell. And then the council wanted to make sure that I touched base with the community and understood what their questions and concerns are and help them work through their process. Feedback that we have received from the city has been pretty wide-ranged. I would say that on the one end, it is what can we do to save the facility that we have there? And in looking at, can we remove the modular, use the foundation, can we remove all of it and place something there, and understanding that process. All the way to the other side, which was fully in support of removal and a strategic plan to identify a better location for a new facility. So options. These two of the first two options are similar to what I presented at the fourth. I have added a third one based on comments that I have received and wanted to make sure that I put that out for council to consider. The first one is rehabilitate, and I think that's the most costly option that we have. It costs more typically to fix it, remove it, find it, fix it, and then redo it again than it would be to just start over again. The second option is demolish the facility and restore it with new playground equipment. And then the third that I added is demolish the facility and replace with a new modular or conventional facility. And that could be either as a temporary solution or a long-term solution, and that's for the council to consider. Now, the last slide I have is the recommendation that I presented at the last meeting. But really what I'm doing here today is asking for your direction on forward steps. As the city manager mentioned, I have received the request to look at what it would cost for that option 3, at least as a temporary solution. I received preliminary cost estimates today from a vendor, but in looking through it, there are some significant misses that I need to follow up on and make sure I have good numbers. So I would need a little more time.
Thank you.
And that's it.
Council member, any questions?
Yeah, I'd like to move to continue this. I don't think we've still got enough information. And with Mr. Nickel out as well, so obviously, and he's I did talk with him today, and and he's got his thoughts. Oh, sorry, thank you. He's got his thoughts on it, and so not only is the representative for that area not here, but I still believe we need further information on what options there really are out there. I mean, when I say there really are, I believe you've got some options, but there may be more if I'm not mistaken, and I think we need to be looking a little further into what we do with this property and if there's some other temporary opportunity in that general area until we can put up a more permanent facility.
Councilman Valdivia.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I first off want to thank our staff for the diligent efforts in reassessing where the opportunities are. Certainly, this is an opportunity for our North End community, the northwesterly portion of the city, to be included in a lot of these very ongoing discussions, which really creates the quality of life that residents want, need, and desire. As I understand it, in meeting with various Verdemont residents throughout the last several months, and just recently over the weekend, the community members there have suffered long enough. And the desire from the community is that if we could back up to maybe that last slide, Trish, that'd be helpful. Option number 3 is to replace with the emphasis on replacement. I think, as I understand it, many of the residents have been vocal tonight, even tonight, spending their moments and public comments on the replacement component. I know that probably the demolition is probably the best opportunity, and so I appreciate what you're doing as you listen. Ms. City Manager, thank you for your efforts. I know we're trying to skin this cat here, and it's really, I think, as I understand it, the option number 3, a replace and demolition emphasis, is really where I'd like to see this go, because I appreciate our staff. I understand that there's a commitment, but you know, business is business, and residents' business is what I'm here to do. And when I can solidify a contract and get it in writing, and I think that's what our residents are asking, seeking, they're advocating for. Hey, provide me some written guarantee that you're going to replace this. And so I know that I see you shaking your head. I think that's the sentiment. I'll support a move to continue because Henry's not here tonight. But know that I really would like to see, that component offered back to the council. Is that for next council meeting, or?
We're hoping, because really, Trish has a lot of the information, but when you're receiving it at 4 or 5 as you're walking into the meeting, we really do need to look at that.
Sure.
There are some things that we think were missed on that, and then there's some improvements that would have to be done. They gave us a quote, but it didn't include the actual preparation of the site and some things like that. So again, she had really, in fairness, 1 day to work on it. So I think we would be prepared then to come back at the next meeting with information on costs, because there will be improvements that have to be made to actually facilitate the location of a facility there. And I think we need to be prudent and also look at what new construction costs are, because it may very well be that new construction ends up being cheaper because modular buildings do have certain requirements that have to be met, and there's a lot of additional testing and things. So we'll explore all those options and come back with good cost estimates so that you have a sense of what your options truly are.
Very good. With that assurance, I'm happy to support the.
We can make it 2 council meetings if.
It's okay with me.
30 days?
Whatever meeting that
Well,
would be.
2 meetings would be June 20th.
June 20th.
Yeah. Okay. Second meeting then, I guess,
Yeah, I'd second that, Fred, if that's agreeable.
Okay. Yeah.
All right,
That
thank
gives
you,
us
Ms.
more
City
time.
Manager. I
That's actually
appreciate that.
easier, so.
Thank you.
Councilmember Mulvihill.
Yeah, I think there's no numbers along with the option 3, and I guess that's what we're going to get.
Yes.
Good. Okay. How long ago was the Ancherells Community Center, that project done?
2015.
2013?
15.
15. Yeah. Because I was looking at the numbers that you have there, and the purchase and the construction, it turned out to be about $700,000. And that doesn't include preparation of the,
No, that includes, that's all inclusive, but what it doesn't include is, at Verdamont, we also constructed basketball courts
I see.
and an amphitheater, and that's not included in that. That was just the modular units.
So the cost is going to probably go up higher than that. Okay, thank you. We'll see. Yeah, so we'll see.
Councilmember Richard?
Yes, thank you. I know in the last meeting, I was the one that asked how much money was spent, but I didn't ask how much money was spent on Ancherell Park. I asked how much money was spent on all the parks in the city. So you know, I'm okay. You know what? One of the things, I'm okay with option number 3, but you know, I did not ask the question as just Ancherell Park. I asked about all the parks in the city of San Bernardino. However, I appreciate you said that there was nothing major done in the last 40 years, but I know that there was work done in all the other parks. But I just wanted to stress that my question was not just Ancherell Park, it was all the parks.
Right. I think, and let me ask a question though, because I think you only searched back for capital projects in the last 5 years.
And I only focused on community centers only, because I'm sorry, that's what I thought the question was, but yeah.
It was just more so putting everything together so you can compare all of the money that was spent in all the parks in the city of San Bernardino.
I think
not just Ancherell.
Right, and I think one thing that's going to help and it is going to take us a little bit of time to do this, but remember earlier in the week we talked about community assessments and the park assessment that we're doing. Part of that assessment will be to the best of the records, that we have, but trying to understand for each park facility that we have, what amenities are there, what's the condition of the amenities, when were improvements made to it, including signage, because we have some that have signage that's more modern than others, but I think that park assessment will kind of help give you, and to the best of our ability, we're going to try to track when those expenditures were made, because we also need to know that in terms of useful lives and when we should expect to replace certain pieces of equipment or amenities. So I think that will go more to your question about what's been done everywhere. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Councilmember,
I'm sorry.
Marquez.
I'm sorry.
Ladies first. No, just kidding. Trish, thank you very much for your presentation. No, I knew you probably put this together in half a day, so I applaud you for your presentation. And you're real good at this, and your eyes just get real big when you do presentations. Anyway, I just want to be clear. So she does. That's her area of expertise. We're really blessed to have you. So we only have 2 modular community centers in the city then, Verdamont and Ancherells throughout the whole city?
Yes.
That's it?
Yes.
Okay. I'm also on board. I want to see the Fifth Ward to get their community center back up. I attended a Mother's Day tea some time ago, and it was very crowded. So it is used quite a bit in that community, and you have it coming. You're entitled to it. So come back with some more info on June 20th, I guess, is the second meeting. Thank you.
Councilmember Schroeder.
My comment is just simply that the discussion here implies that we have community centers in all of our parks, and we do not. And I want the public to understand that when we're talking about Ancherells Park, we're talking about this park up there. We've got a number of parks that don't have community centers. And so along those lines, we're coming back with more information. A community center seems an appropriate place to be in a park, but not necessarily the only place for a community center. So we might want to be looking at, when I said other options, I'm thinking even other locations that may be better for one reason or another, central to the ward, central to the community, or whatever. Jim looks like he's disagreeing with me, and I'm not. This park is fine, probably, but I just think we don't want to just say a community center has to go in a park, and it's for the community. Right.
Councilman Mulvihill.
What about the Hernandez Center? What's that?
It's actually a basketball, isn't it? Just basketball.
There's rooms there, aren't there?
We have a few. Community center pools, but we only have 2 modular ones.
Oh, so we're just talking modular.
So someone asked
but
how many
we have
modular.
The Hernandez Center, and we got over at
brick and mortar.
And at the Lila Creek, there's facilities there as well.
That's brick and mortar.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, just, I guess, when you say that there's no community centers except for Ancherel's, and so it's not.
No,
it's
no,
not
two
true.
modular.
Yeah, two modular.
They're the modular ones.
Yeah, thank you.
But I do want to go back to something Councilmember Charette talked about, because remember that Verdamont area really has a tremendous amount of potential. There's a lot of undeveloped land. We have developers in that area that are really interested in building out that. The county has indicated that at some point it seems to make sense that there should be some discussion about potential annexation of additional land in San Bernardino. One of the things that we have talked about as part of the development of that we really need to have a specific plan. I know the Mayor Pro Tem has mentioned that, several other council members. So in this year's budget, we did propose funding to help complement the efforts that some of the developers up there are already undergoing. I think we have one developer that is just starting a specific plan. We have a couple of other ones that have done specific planning work, but making sure that we have the city also engaging in a specific plan, not to duplicate what they're doing, but to make sure that all those specific plans really work together and begin to build out the trail systems and the public amenities that do need to be there. One of the comments that we've heard at the council dais is the concern with traffic, and there are major traffic impacts in that area. So there are opportunities to look at specific planning of the entire area, keeping in mind what our future growth patterns might be and what our needs for public facilities are. And quite candidly, I think we need to address the fact that that area is very north of most of our other facilities. We don't have a police station in that area. There's obviously fire suppression activities there. We don't have a public works yard. And so long term, I think part of that specific planning process really needs to be what public facilities do we need to provide services in that area. And it may very well be that we look to the property that the city has there, the Bice property, as an opportunity to maybe do some land swaps or something with the developer to get the property that we need in the most appropriate location to provide our services. And maybe part of that facility is really a brick and mortar community center. I think long term we should be looking to brick and mortar facilities, not modular units. And I understand that serves but again, I think
You're out of order, please.
so again, long term, we're going to be looking for those facilities that really add value. Brick and mortar tends to be really in the long run more cost effective. It's better in terms of maintenance. It's permanent. But again, I think there's that opportunity for us to look at what facilities do we need if we're really going to provide the level of service that you've indicated to me you want to be able to provide citywide. We've got to start making sure that we have the facilities to be able to do that. So again, we have the money budgeted this year. The upcoming year, we're going to ask you for authority to begin that specific planning process. Again, not duplicating what the developers are doing, but complementing what they're doing to make sure that the needs of the residents are heard and understood.
Councilman Charette.
Well, I think that goes along with what I was saying, and that there may be another, so that we don't wait 10 years for something, there may be a temporary opportunity up in that area somewhere. The Little League's up there, there's schools up there. I don't know. I'm just saying we need to explore all options and stay away from perhaps going with just because we do want it now, and I agree with that, that we just throw something up as a temporary that really isn't part of a specific plan and a longer term solution to the problem. So I would be looking at other possible temporary opportunities up in that area as well.
All right, thank you. Any other discussion? Not, we'll move on to item number 27.
Oh, to continue. Oh.
Shoot.
Really- On item 26, the motion to continue this to June 20th was made by Mr. Charette, seconded by Mr. Valdivia, and the item passes 6-0.
Thank you. Next is item number 27, and I believe that this is to continue the public hearing on the appeal of Pepe's Towing. Do we have a motion?
And I would note,
Excuse
just
me.
before you make...
There is a public
Oh.
speaker comment. Robert Ring.
And Mr. Mayor, if I could, just while he's coming to the podium, I did actually want to make a staff report on this. There was a comment, we're getting to the point where this needs to be on consent calendar. I don't disagree with that, although we can't. we will have a conversation internally because this has gone on for some time now. We have other carriers that are expressing concerns with it, and so we may be coming back to you with a recommendation that's maybe a little bit different in the future. So City Attorney's Office and I've had some conversations, and again, we had agreed to this, so we're recommending that it be continued. You do have a speaker on the item, but I think we need to develop a different strategy with respect to this. We have to have a hearing. We had an appeal, but I think we probably need to take a different approach. So with that, I think you have a speaker, and then we'll recommend that we continue.
City Attorney, if the item is continued, does that mean that the speaker should be advised to come back or to speak at this time? Because we're actually not holding the hearing.
Right. Generally, the way it's been handled in the past is that the speaker is allowed to put their comments on the record, even though we're continuing the hearing. But it's really up to the chair as how you want to proceed.
And I think we've done that for convenience more than anything.
So, Mr. Ring, if you would then be sworn in. Yeah. No, you have 3 minutes. No. Yeah. You may want to wait until your time starts.
Can you hear me? All right. Well, thanks for saving the best and most intriguing issue for last. Mr. Mayor, council members, and also city manager and city attorney, I'm here to address the issue regarding your San Bernardino police towers. My name is Robert Ring. I represent your San Bernardino police towers, Danny's Towing, Wilson's Towing, City Towing, Hayes Towing, and Armada Towing. And I represented them and an additional carrier back in 2011 when the issue came up of these police towing contracts. I had extensive meetings with your city attorney and your outside counsel, Louis Brisbois, city manager, the police department, a lot of meetings, a lot of negotiation. Questions were how much staff, how much equipment. We went back and forth, negotiated the franchise fees, and came to a deal without litigation, in good faith, and we've honored that deal since 2011, and that's due to expire in July of 2021. I'm here tonight primarily to ask you to finally decide this appeal with Pepe's Towing, which I understand will be continued. I would ask it to be continued to June 20th. And more particularly, I ask that the City Council withdraw, certainly suspend, but withdraw at this point all efforts to bring on a seventh tow company. Why? First, because a deal is a deal. The company's invested the equipment, the people, the time. They've honored their part of the agreement. To add a seventh company is not only unfair, we believe it's a breach of the deal or the contract. And in particular, on March 7th, the City Council decided, well, the population's up just a little bit, let's add a seventh tow carrier. They were wrong. As I set forth in a detailed letter to all of you, and I'm happy to discuss this with your city attorney, city manager, as a city manager had mentioned, maybe we should look at this entire issue, and I invite that process. The entire idea of bringing on another company was based on this statement by staff that said that the 2011-80 resolution said, quote, 2011 provides one tow carrier for every 35 residents of the city. But the resolution says one tow carrier for every 40,000 residents. The contracts mentioned 35. The resolution, which governs, said 40,000. So the facts are wrong. And the sort of the pretense or the basis for adding a company was wrong. Moreover, there's no demonstrated need. The tow companies, as indicated by your city attorney's letter, are in compliance. They're not coming too late. They're not that there aren't enough companies. They're doing their job. The police are calling them. They're coming out. They're towing the cars. They're doing their job. Their contract should not be diluted by bringing in yet another company. And also, in a more technical, because I am a lawyer and I talk technically.
And your time has expired.
It says, I was reading 140.
It started at 5. Did you reset it?
What? I was, let me just wrap this up. I would have,
We'll give you one more minute.
okay, thank you.
Please wrap it up.
All right. Lost my train of thought. Anyway, there was absolutely no objective need for this. These are a bunch of whereas provisions, whereas the sky is blue, et cetera, et cetera. But the actual contract language doesn't say it has to be one for 35 or 40,000 or anything else like that. And as a final comment, this has really been a push by your former city attorney, Mr. Penman, on behalf of Pepe's Towing. In my letter, I indicate there is nothing illegal about that, but in my opinion, it doesn't pass the smell test. It is a conflict of interest. Not for me to assert. It wasn't our attorney, but he was a city's attorney. And I cite some law, and I would ask that the city seriously consider whether it is appropriate for Mr. Penman to continue representing one tow company using information he gained while representing the city of San Bernardino to the detriment of the other 6 tow companies.
Thank you, Mr. Ring.
Thank you very much.
We have any further discussion?
And what date? June 20th?
We only have an agreement from the appellant to continue to June 6th, so, and without them,
My table.
you can't. We've already agreed to continue it to June 6th, so I think
All right.
that we're
Okay,
stuck
well,
there.
Then if we have to do that, do we have to do that? Okay, all right, then that's my motion.
I see consternation. We will internally have a conversation. We will meet with the speaker and try to understand the issue and then go back to the appellant, and maybe we can come to some different understanding, but, and then we'll bring that forward to you.
All right.
But there's things I'd like to say, but I'm not going to.
No.
On item 27, Mayor, the motion to continue this to June 6th was made by Mr. Charette, the second by Mr. Mulvihill, and the item passes 6-0.
Thank you. Any further comments from council? Councilmember Marquez.
Just a real brief comment. I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate San Marino PD Officer Rosas, who's here, celebrating his 35th year as a police officer.
Thank you, Councilmember, making that recommendation. No further comments. I will respond just briefly to comments that were made earlier during public speaking related to a flyer that was put forward. I had no involvement in that flyer. I did not authorize that flyer and was not aware of that flyer. This meeting is adjourned until Wednesday, June 6th. No, wait a second. This meeting, the regular meeting, is adjourned until Wednesday, June 6th, 2018. There is a special meeting to be held tomorrow at 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock. And then there's another special meeting to be held Wednesday, May 30th at 5:30 p.m. at the IVDA Sevilla meeting. All right. Did I get it all? All right. Thank you. This meeting's...
Are they up?
Yeah.
Tomorrow's meeting's here.
Yes. Thank you.